So welcome everybody to a press conference. I shortly also used the occasion to introduce the podium which we have here today. The issue is the recent decisions of the European Court of Justice on the issue of Western Sahara and the EU Trade and Fisheries Agreement. If I start from my left, is Manuel Tevas, lawyer, who was the lawyer in front of the court defending the issue. Ubi Buchara, the representative of the Frente Polisario in Brussels and towards the European Union. In a better world, we would call him ambassador. And Pierre Galland, the president of Oikoko, solidarity movement with the issue of the people of Western Sahara. And my name is Andreas Schieder. I am member of the European Parliament from Austria and from the S&D group, and I'm chair of the Intergroup for Issues of Western Sahara. The Intergroup is a parliamentary interfractional body which is looking on the issues of the people of Western Sahara. If I may start, our main point is, just recently in September, the European Court of Justice ruled a very historic ruling on the issue of the whole issue of Western Sahara, mainly dedicated to the fisheries and agricultural agreement, but with a lot of findings also in a broader sense. The main issues are, first of all, the Frente Polisario is the official representation of the Sahrawi people. So whoever wants to, let's say, find consent on several issues has to negotiate and speak with the Frente Polisario. Secondly, the fisheries agreement of the European Union with Morocco is directly affecting also the people of the Western Sahara, the Sahrawi people, with a lot of also negative impact on their fundamental rights. And to have a legal agreement, it would have been necessary to find consent with the Sahrawi people / the Frente Polisario. As this consent was not found, the court decided to annul this agreement. I think this is a very, very important and also a very historic ruling. It makes clear that also the European Commission and the European Council made fundamental mistakes in creating this agreement, because they were also told before that they have to find consent with the with the Sahrawi people and the Frente Polisario. And it is also important to underline, consent is not the same like consulting. So it is a difference if you call somebody, try to reach somebody, or you find an agreement with somebody. And the European Court made clear you have to find a consent. So all the excuses of the European Commission that they anyway wanted to speak to the Frente Polisario, but then couldn't manage, are cheap excuses of a big mistake which the Commission was doing in implementing and negotiating this agreement. As we stand here now, and as this agreement is annulled, of course, there is the possibility to go to the next level, but we have to say already now there is major impact. First of all, politically, we expect that all the member states of the European Union, the Commission and the Council respect this ruling and adjust their trade and fishery and other policies concerning this ruling. Because it cannot be that the Court of Justice is taking a ruling and we continue like nothing would have been decided. There is a decision, the agreement is annulled, so everybody has to respect this. Therefore, we call also on the President of the Council, Charles Michel, to discuss this with the member state and to ensure that this decision of the court is respected in the everyday implementation by the member states. Therefore, the Intergroup of Western Sahara Issues of the European Parliament sent a letter to the President of the Commission, Mrs. von der Leyen, and to the President of the Council to ensure this. Secondly, also, we expect that, of course, this is a turning point, this ruling. So we need and to open a new trade and relation chapter with the people of Western Sahara, and therefore the Commission has to start the whole process from scratch, I would say, following the legal standards of the European Union. This is, I think, what we have to expect. And then, of course, there are coming a lot of other complicated issues which has to be discussed also in the future, like compensation and so on. This, I think, will be also towards the future issue. But I think one thing, and then I'll stop here and give the floor to the other distinguished speakers today, is it's a historic moment because the European Court, not the first time, the second time already, took major decisions on this and made clear that the Frente Polisario is the official representation of the Sahrawi people. So therefore we also say, as it is a fundamental new one, we expect also that all the policies are adjusted to this ruling. We can also say, before we start a blame game, I think for Mrs. von der Leyen is also easy because she was not in office when this agreement was done, but she has to also to see now that the old Commission made an agreement which was illegal, which the European Court of Justice decided it's not functioning, and therefore we need a new starting point. And a new starting point means respecting the Frente Polisario. Secondly, to negotiate and to speak to the Frente Polisario on behalf of the Sahrawi people and to find a solution to all the issues. I think Frente Polisario anyway, since long already claimed this issue, but I think this is important. And of course, this gives also a new dynamic to the whole independence issue, because it is a European court who also decided on this issue. So I think also it is time now, with also the new UN Special Envoy, to restart also the political process on the independence of the Western Sahara and for the self-determination of the Sahrawi people.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much, Chairperson of the European Parliament Intergroup on Western Sahara. And I think that the issue of the decision that was announced by the European General Court on September the 29th is now almost clear for everybody. And I would start by seconding the appeal that has been just made by the president of the intergroup on the need really for the European Union now to adopt a new approach with regard to the future in terms of the agreements with Morocco, and start thinking really, or using the common sense in terms of the need to respect the decision, but at the same time to think about its impact on the conflict in Western Sahara, but also on the bilateral relations between the European Union and the rest of the North African and the Maghreb countries. The president of the intergroup explained very well the decision, and I think that if I am to emphasize something in addition to the annulment that was the main purpose of the decision and the main response of the demand that was formulated by the Polisario Front when we introduced our appeal in April and June 2019. So we are really totally satisfied with the fact that the General Court gave us right and proceeded to the annulment, total annulment of the two agreements that they have been challenged by the Polisario Front in front of the General Court. But at the same time, we want to underline that in addition to the annulment of the agreements, the General Court also consolidated the achievements that we had already for the rulings in 2016 and 2018, especially in terms of the consent, the precondition of the consent of the people of Western Sahara in order to get to do any business or any activity that involve the natural resources of the people of Western Sahara. And I think on the consent is the central basis on which the General Court adopted its decision on the 29th of September. That in addition to the consent, the consolidation of the precondition of the consent of the people of Western Sahara, the court also consolidated the fact as that Western Sahara is distinct and separated territory from Morocco, and consolidated also the right of self-determination of the people of Western Sahara as the only and unique way to settle the decolonization conflict in Western Sahara, and also reaffirmed the position or the condition of the Polisario Front as the representative, the sole representative of the people of Western Sahara. But the new elements for us that would really make us think exactly the way in which the president of the intergroup was referring as this decision to be a turning point are basically three new facts. The first one is the issue in relation with the idea of the benefit of the people of Western Sahara on those agreements, because the central argument of the European Council, the Council of the European Union, was this, that what the people of Western Sahara were benefiting from those agreements. So the court said very clearly that there is no argument at all about that, and that what matters is the consent of the people of Western Sahara. And then the second element is in relation with the procedure that the European Commission, especially the European Commission, was trying to sell out this idea of renewing the agreements, including the Western Sahara territory, that the Commission undertaken a sort of consultations with the people on ground in the territory, and that they expressed some views that it's really positive and that they are benefiting from those agreements. So the court on the 29th stated very clearly that there is no point about that at all, and that the consultations could never substitute the precondition of getting the consent of the people of Western Sahara. And the third element, which is even more important, is in relation with the status of the Polisario Front, because in 2016 the court, the General Court, said that the Polisario is the Polisario representative of the people of Western Sahara, and stopped there. But this time around, because of the nature of the appeals that they have been introduced, and that the fact that the new agreements included explicitly Western Sahara, thus the Polisario Front as a sole representative has had the right to challenge them, the court this time around further clarified the status of the Polisario Front and confirmed that a part of being the representative of the people of Western Sahara has also the personal legality to challenge those agreements and to defend the rights of the people of Western Sahara and the territory in front of the European justice system. And we think that this has really a very important impact both on the political level but also on the legal and the economic level. So I just want to emphasize on two things: that from our point of view, we call upon the European state members, but also the Council of the European Union, to abstain from appealing the decision of the General Court, because that would really project a very bad image about the European Union as a whole, a union that is trying to project an image of being respectful to the law, to the international law, and to the decisions of the justice, for the third or the fourth time is challenging its own decisions just to serve some narrow interests with a third country, which is Morocco in this case. That's the first appeal that we would like to make. And the second one is to clarify and that one of the arguments of the the Council of the European Union and the Commission and France also and Spain, the countries that they have been involved in the process, that the renewal of the agreement has only an economic connotation, has no political impact on the process that was going on in Western Sahara. And this is really something false, because we know for sure that one of the elements that encouraged Morocco to violate the terms of the ceasefire and challenged almost the whole UN attempts to decolonize the territory was because of those wrong signs that they have been repeatedly given by the European Union and other international capitals that through which Morocco got this sentiment of impunity on being above the law. And that's why Morocco dared to violate the terms of the ceasefire, occupy a new part of the land of Western Sahara, extend the existing military wall, and now that is why we have the war going on in Western Sahara. So the European Union decision by extending the agreements to Western Sahara had a central impact on the a bad and negative impact on the political process going on by then. And now it is not only the war in Western Sahara. Now there is a mounting tension in the region. You would have known, of course, about the severing of diplomatic relations between Algeria and Morocco. Everybody knows that the Moroccan behavior in terms of policies of destabilization of the whole region is at the origin of this decision, but also the lack of cooperation from Morocco in terms of decolonizing the territory and allowing the referendum to take place was also at the center of the reasons that led Algeria to adopt this decision. Now there is a tension in the region, a region exactly at the doors of the European Union, and we think that the format that has been used and in place for decades now by the European Union, thinking only about the interests of Morocco at the cost and the expense of the other people and the countries of the region, is not working anymore, and the European Union really has to adopt a new approach to avoid further escalation in the situation and to diffuse the situation on ground in Western Sahara and in the region as a whole. I think the European Union has to adopt a clearer position on Western Sahara, has to abide by the decisions of the European Court of Justice, but also has to abide by the international law and express a full support to the only ratified agreement between the parties to date, which is that one that would have led to the organization of a referendum of self-determination, and that's I think the formula that would serve. It's on the interest not only for the people of Western Sahara and the people of Morocco, the people of the region and Europe as a whole. So I thank you very much for your attention, and we will be very ready to respond to any question later on. And I give the floor to...
Maybe we give the floor to Manuel. And then
Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for organizing that press conference. As lawyers, for us, that's very important to be able to explain our work that is technical. And that's something that I want to emphasize. I think the most difficult part for the Sahrawi people, they're suffering for misuse of language. And that's part of propaganda by the Moroccan authorities to try to diminish, to dilute the status of the Polisario Front, of the Sahrawi people as a colonial people, but also of the status of Western Sahara as a non-self-governing territory. And so if I had one key message to the journalists in the audience today, when you write about Western Sahara, write properly about Western Sahara. Make sure that you're using the right concept, otherwise you're adding to confusion. I would also start by, before getting to the ruling, saying that we've been able to, as lawyers, to achieve great results before the EU courts, because we had a very strong political basis from the Polisario Front. And so the results we got from the court is the outcome of 40 years of doctrine from the Polisario Front that always based the struggle for national liberation of the Sahrawi people on the application of international law. I'll take also this opportunity to thank the solidarity that is around the Sahrawi people, but also the lawyers. We gained very much from their insights to develop our submissions before the courts and to be involved as an observer, but also sometimes as a counsel on other situations of occupation. I think that's something that is really admirable in the case of Western Sahara. That's the unity of the Sahrawi people beyond the Polisario Front, and the unity of the civil society around the Sahrawi people. And I can assure you that's not so common. Now getting to the ruling, as it has been said, that's a victory, and I want to develop that point. For us, that's a victory on 3 accounts. The first one is that obviously that's a victory of the Sahrawi people. With these rulings, the Sahrawi people have shown that they are not only able to resist, they are able to win even against the most powerful in Europe. During the proceedings, we had the legal service of the Council, we had the legal service of the Commission, the legal service of France, of Spain, 2 of the biggest law firms in EU law in Europe advising Moroccan stakeholders. None of them were able to defeat us. So already, I'm saying a kind of reminder to the legal services of enterprises and companies that are in Western Sahara, stop messing with us. If the Commission was not able to find the argument, you won't be able to find the argument. And once that we've got the Commission out of Western Sahara, the next target is our enterprises, foreign enterprises that are operating in Western Sahara without the consent of the Sahrawi people. That's the first thing. The second thing also, as a lawyer, and I find that really cheerful, is that that's a victory over the law, over the force, over the real politics. During the proceedings, the Commission, the states were explaining that, look, that's a political question. There is a political process at the UN level. No, the General Court explained that that's a legal question, that the right to self-determination has a legal content, and I see too many times people referring to the right to self-determination as a political principle. No, that's not. You have to be updated. That's a legal principle with legal implications. And so I think that as the word as it is, to see the Sahrawi people able to have that victory based on the law after 40 years of an illegal occupation resuming from an illegal use of force, that's a significant step. The third victory is obviously the victory of the rule of law. I'm an EU citizen. There are EU citizens in the room. Last week, I watched the speech of the Prime Minister of Poland in the European Parliament just nearby, explaining that there is no more primacy of EU law over national law. And the Commission replied, saying that the EU is a union of law based on the rule of law. And as an EU citizen, I was really satisfied to see the Commission enforcing the rule of law and recording the founding principles of the Union. Now my question is that, why is it different when it comes to Western Sahara? Why the Polish government has to respect rulings of the courts, but the Commission does not respect rulings from the courts? I'd like to understand. The rule of law is our common good. There is no selectivity in the rule of law. No one is above the law. And I think that first, as EU citizens, we should thank the Sahrawi people for deciding again to bring litigations before the court and to enforce the rule of law against the Commission. On Western Sahara, for me, that's clear. That's a disappointment. That should be the Commission as the guardian of the treaty defending the law. They missed that. Now, regarding the content of the ruling, much has been said already, and I don't want to be too long. I just want to underline 2 elements regarding the extension process, because that has political implications, but also regarding the broader implications of the ruling. Regarding the extension process, as you may know, in 2016, the European Court of Justice, the Higher Court, ruled that agreement concluded between Morocco and the EU could not be applicable to Western Sahara, because Western Sahara is a different territory, and because there must be the consent of the Sahrawi people. Now, after that ruling, instead of complying and so upholding the rule of law, the Commission decided to engage in a consultation process, but to sell an extension process. And that's on that extension process that I want to insist. Before that, we had de facto application of the EU agreement to Western Sahara. Now there is an explicit extension of these agreements to occupied Western Sahara. But that extension process is that what is interesting, since last December, the Moroccan authorities are claiming that the US because of the Trump proclamation, recognized the sovereignty of Morocco over Western Sahara. I want to underline that that proclamation is just a political statement and that has no value under international law. But while at the same time they got that proclamation, at the very same time they were signing an agreement with the EU, which is an international agreement, with an explicit extension process to Western Sahara. Why? Because Morocco has no sovereignty over Western Sahara. And so in an international agreement that is a legal act, Morocco recognized that within its relation with the EU, it has no sovereignty over Western Sahara. And so that aspect is important for me because we are monitoring closely what's happening. And we see the Moroccan authorities putting a lot of pressure on member state governments to obtain the same so-called proclamation. But it won't happen because of the case of the court, but also because Morocco already accepted that extension process. So it has accepted that it has no sovereignty over Western Sahara in its relations with the EU and the member states. Now, regarding the implications of the ruling, the main one, as it has been said, is the recognition of the Polisario Front as the official representative of the Sahrawi people. The fact that the Polisario Front represents the Sahrawi people in every aspect of their right to self-determination and not only the political process. So if you want an agreement applicable to the territory of Western Sahara, to the resources of Western Sahara, the only body able to express consent on behalf of the Sahrawi people is the Polisario Front. So that's clear, but that's the consent part. The other thing also that is very much important and that is an improvement compared to the previous ruling is the explicit recognition of the standing of the Polisario Front. Meaning that now, if the Commission tries again to engage with Morocco over Western Sahara without the consent of the Sahrawi people, we know for sure that now the Polisario Front is standing to take back the EU to court. And that's a huge achievement. And that concerns also companies at the domestic level. So now, given the standing of the Polisario Front, but also the content of the ruling on the consent, the EU, the foreign enterprises, including the Moroccan enterprises that are operating now in Upper Western Sahara, they are at a crossroad. If they want to remain in Western Sahara, they have to engage with the Polisario Front to reach the consent of the Sahrawi people. If they don't want to engage with the Polisario Front, and he is free of his diplomatic relation, then they have to leave Western Sahara. And if they don't, there will be more proceedings with ultimately a conviction from the General Court. And there, to show you how much we are determined by enforcing the rights of the Sahrawi people at the EU level, is that for the moment, we only discussed about the validity of EU legal acts of international agreement that were concluded between the EU and Morocco. The next step will be a compensation, a claim for compensation. The action of the EU over the last 25 years has caused a huge prejudice to the Sahrawi people, interfering with their right to self-determination, but also depriving them of their natural resources, of their financial budget that they could have allocated to scholarship, to building education, to hospitals, to the development and the well-being of their people. And so now, because of the ruling of the courts, if the Commission does not do the right thing, we will be able to go back to court and to claim compensation. And according to a low estimation of the prejudice that is suffered by the Sahrawi people, we are already talking about an amount of 2 billion euros, according to a low estimation. 2 billion euros, and only for the two last years. So, again, as I said when I started, do not underestimate us. Since the last 10 years, we've proved that we're able to get the status of the Sahrawi people, Western Sahara and the Polisario Front right before the courts. We've been able to nullify 2 international agreements concluded by the EU, which is a situation totally unprecedented. So, if the Commission still wants to test us, there will be consequences.
Thank you, Manuel. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, hello to everybody, and to say that we are very happy today because after so long time, we have now the right with us on what we have promote the right of one population, one people, the Sahrawi people. And for the solidarity movement, the large solidarity movement, we have today an instrument with which we can work not only in front of the Commission, but also in front of each of our states around Europe. And that would be the way that we will promote the solidarity in the coming years. We have the 11th and the 12th of December ECOCO meeting in Las Palmas, and the last 2 days we have meet international lawyers coming from France, from Germany, from Belgium, from I forget one, and from Germany and Algeria. And we have worked together to implement a document to present how the jurist, the international law community can preserve the international way to work with the relation with other people. And I believe that this arrest is somewhere something very important and exceptional, because it gives the right not only to the Sahrawi people, but it gives the people to all the other people around the world fighting for their self-determination. So that we believe it's a historical step that we have today, and thanks to the Polisario, thanks to the lawyers, Manuel Dever and his father, because we believe that doing this step with the arrest of the European Court, we take part to the reconstruction of how we can live together around the world today. And you know that how difficult is this international way to live together today. And we must absolutely, and there is somewhere an example, perfect example of how to work. And thanks to the Front Polisario to have implemented this work with the European Court. For us, as citizens of Europe, it's our responsibility today to make sure that this arrest will be respected by the Commission. And we will work in our different countries to be sure that from all of our countries, we will press the European institution to respect their own law. And that's the way that we have implemented now to work together. And if you don't have the document that we have promoted the last 2 days, you can have it here with Fabio. And the last word that I will say is also that as a long time that we have worked on the solidarity with the Sahrawi people, that we work also with the solidarity with other people like Palestinians. We believe that it's time that Europe take in account that we are entering in a new stage of history. We cannot continue like today. Today we are confronted with a European body very weak, and we believe as citizens that it's time to make the new step. And this arrest can be a new step in the good way for Europe and for the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. So we can now also then open for questions if needed. I wanted to maybe underline again, first of all, congratulations to the team of the lawyers, which was working very intensively and long on this. Secondly, also congratulations to the Frente Polisario to this important victory. Then a point which we want to underline is the call to the European bodies, especially the Council, for abstentions from appealing, and instead to accept what is in the ruling and start with the renewal of the agreement, starting to produce a legal functioning and concerning the law status. There is also a huge impact on enterprises, of European enterprises, so also this might be an argument for the European Commission and the Council. Secondly, also it is important to restart the political process, because also the answer to all this trade issue is easier if there is a clear political answer. And I think we can welcome also the nomination of Stefan de Mistura to be the special envoy, which is also showing that the international community, including the US, wants to have a solution on this issue, and there is a different opinion now than in the last administration of the US also on this. And then I wanted to say we will work in the European Parliament on this issue. We started to discuss this issue very strongly in the respective entities and bodies, the respective commissions, and we will also try to make it as a topic of one of the next plenaries. We also wrote a letter of several members of European Parliament, and there's an intergroup in my name as chair, and the vice chair Manuel Pineda from Spain and the left group. We have the letter also in copies here, so we will be pleased also to distribute to you. In this letter we more or less try to sharpen the arguments which were said also today. And I think I want to repeat again an important point which Manuel was making: do not underestimate the Frente Polisario in the will to defend its integral rights. Secondly, do not underestimate the brain of the lawyers. Thirdly, do not underestimate also the power of European law and justice. So therefore, I think this is what we were today. So if there are any questions, we are pleased to answer them. And also, beside Manuel, there is also some other lawyers which had been working on the issue, which might also be maybe happy to answer your question.
J'adresse ma question, pardon. Alors, bonjour, Monsieur Maître Manuel Devers. Donc, depuis 2016, il y a eu plusieurs arrêtés qui ont été décidés par la Cour de justice de l'Union européenne en 2016, en 2018, etc., statuant que le territoire du Sahara occidental est distinct du Maroc et que le Maroc n'y a aucune souveraineté, que dès lors, tous les accords qu'on passe avec l'Union européenne sont caducs ou bien sont illégaux. Donc ça fait depuis 2016. Or, la Commission a décidé d'étendre les accords au Sahara occidental. On a fait un recours, ça a été annulé. Mais aujourd'hui, la question que je me pose, comment faire pour qu'il y ait force de loi? Comment faire pour que les décisions de la Cour de justice soient appliquées par les institutions européennes concernant le Sahara occidental?
Sur ce point, il y a plusieurs volets. Sur donc la question de la manière de contraindre au respect des arrêts de la Cour. Bon, d'abord, le premier point, on verra s'il y a un pourvoi ou non. Le Conseil a le droit de faire un pourvoi. On en a déjà discuté auparavant. Ça serait une manœuvre dilatoire. De notre point de vue, les arrêts du tribunal sont extrêmement bien motivés. Ils se sont vraiment placés dans le cadre de ce que a jugé la Cour. Donc, sans préjuger de ce que décidera la Cour, le pourvoi sera objectivement quelque chose de compliqué à faire pour les services juridiques du Conseil et de la Commission. Voilà, ça je pense que c'est un élément sur lequel on peut être d'accord. Maintenant, l'arrêt du tribunal, comme je le disais, on n'a fait que des recours en légalité pour l'instant. Et donc, petit à petit, la première phase a permis de redéfinir le statut du Sahara occidental, redéfinir le cadre juridique applicable à la question sahraoui, le faire reconnaître en droit européen. Et puis, avec l'arrêt du tribunal, on a fait annuler, et donc on a obtenu une première application de ce cadre juridique. Il est certain que si les institutions persistent à vouloir condamner les décisions de justice, la seule option qui restera sur la table, ça sera celle d'un recours en responsabilité. Et ici, sans vouloir être trop technique, je veux simplement rappeler que la responsabilité en droit de l'Union européenne, c'est 3 conditions: la faute, le préjudice et la causalité. Sur la faute, le tribunal a jugé que le Conseil avait commis une erreur manifeste d'appréciation en concluant ces accords en s'abstenant, en se pensant affranchi de la condition du consentement. Donc déjà, les arrêts du tribunal du 29 septembre dernier nous donnent la première condition, qui est la condition de l'illégalité de la faute. Quant aux autres conditions, la Commission européenne, dans à toute puissance, et même peut-être une naïveté, je ne sais pas, a publié tous les rapports où elle explique pourquoi est-ce que c'est si bénéfique que ça aux populations locales, les préférences tarifaires. Donc on a tous les chiffres par la Commission européenne de ce qui a été exporté grâce aux accords vers l'Union européenne. Et donc, c'est le fameux chiffre que j'avance de 500 millions d'euros par an, qui est une donnée officielle de la Commission européenne. Donc vous avez déjà deux conditions, la faute, le préjudice. Le troisième point, c'est la causalité. Et la Commission hier encore, et ensuite très attentivement les discussions au sein des diverses commissions du Parlement européen, a déclaré que sans les préférences tarifaires, compte tenu du fait que le Sahara occidental n'est pas membre de l'OMC, que donc il n'aurait pas le droit à la clause de la nation la plus favorisée, les exportations depuis le Sahara occidental seraient surtaxées à la rentrée en Europe, et donc il n'y aurait plus de viabilité économique en territoire occupé. Et donc, voilà la causalité, et voilà la Commission européenne qui reconnaît que par son fait, elle maintient artificiellement l'activité en territoire occupé. Donc pour nous, l'analyse juridique, elle est extrêmement claire. J'espère que les services juridiques vont la faire. J'espère qu'ils auront la possibilité d'expliquer ça aux décideurs politiques. Mais s'il n'y a pas le choix, on retournera devant la justice européenne et on demandera les compensations qui sont dues.
Merci, maître. Ma deuxième question s'adresse, excusez-moi, peut-être que je monopolise. La deuxième question s'adresse à M. Galland. On sait que vous êtes depuis longtemps président donc, de l'intergroupe, enfin de COCO. Donc là, Maître Devers a répondu de manière juridique. Mais quelles sont les initiatives politiques pour pouvoir interpeller les institutions européennes, pour pouvoir leur dire d'appliquer les arrêts de la Cour de justice de l'Union européenne?
Oui, bon, ben cette question, elle est très claire. C'est que vous savez que nous sommes des citoyens en Europe, que les citoyens ont des manières de se faire entendre dans les institutions. La première, c'est d'être en relation avec les parlementaires. Donc, il existe un intergroupe parlementaire Paix pour le peuple sahraoui au Parlement européen, créé en 1985, je vous rappelle. Il existe des intergroupes parlementaires dans les différents pays de l'Europe. Et donc, notre rôle de citoyen, c'est d'être en relation avec les parlementaires qui peuvent relayer les préoccupations citoyennes que nous portons dans le cadre de la solidarité avec le peuple sahraoui. Et puis, après, dans le deuxième temps, c'est d'être aux côtés du Front Polisario. Le Front Polisario, aujourd'hui, il est reconnu comme étant l'interlocuteur incontournable de la situation qui se produit dans son territoire et que tout rapport avec le territoire et le peuple sahraoui doit passer par le Front Polisario. Eh bien, comme dans toutes les luttes précédentes avec les mouvements de libération nationaux, il nous appartient de faire entendre ce respect de ce droit élémentaire essentiel prévu par l'ensemble du processus de décolonisation des Nations Unies d'ailleurs, qui fait qu'il faut que l'Europe aujourd'hui engage des négociations avec le Front Polisario dès qu'il s'agit des intérêts du peuple sahraoui sur son territoire. Et donc là, c'est vraiment la manière dont nous allons, j'ai dit tout à l'heure, nous allons, à partir de ce mois de novembre, décembre, préparer notre rencontre internationale pour voir comment les citoyens organisés peuvent interpeller leurs parlementaires dans les parlements nationaux au niveau du Parlement européen. Comment les citoyens européens peuvent se jumeler pour interpeller la Commission. Ça arrive régulièrement que nous allons vers la Commission pour l'interpeller sur des situations qui nous semblent être les droits fondamentaux des peuples qui sont dans le pourtour de la Méditerranée. Et donc, c'est toute cette façon précise de fonctionner dans la solidarité qui repose sur des traditions déjà de longue date, à travers tout le processus de décolonisation et de lutte contre l'apartheid. Eh bien, c'est dans le même sens que nous nous organisons aujourd'hui et que nous allons nous retrouver à Palerme au mois de décembre pendant 2 jours pour affiner et faire en sorte que l'ensemble du mouvement fonctionne sur une méthodologie qui repose sur les droits que nous venons d'acquérir à nouveau, qui ont été précisés et qui pour moi sont la colonne vertébrale de ce que doivent être les relations internationales entre les États, entre l'Union européenne et son pourtour, principalement en Méditerranée.
Je vous remercie, M. Galland.
sorry. Ida Sanchez from Euronews. I have a question. You said that you wanted the Commission and the Council to abstain from appealing. Have you had any contacts with them in order to know what will they do? And also, when is the last day that they have for appealing?
So I'm afraid, but we will answer if they. It would be the easiest if they simply pick up the phone and call Frente Polisario and say, "Hey, we have to talk." But you know, it's not a style like they had been working and probably did not realize to work now. In the Parliament, there has been already the debate, first debate with representatives of the Commission. We don't know what the Council thinks. I think it is extremely important that the Council starts to discuss this issue and to take it serious. The time frame is more or less until December, 16th of December. They can decide, but therefore I would say not to waste the time now to work on appealments, but to work on a solution. This is what I would ask them to do, because it's also what their job is, to find solution on a mess they created.
Dacia Ribeiro, journaliste. Voilà, donc je suis ce dossier depuis un certain temps, comme mon collègue Ben Safi. Donc cette décision de justice, évidemment, en principe, je dirais en principe parce que ça fait longtemps que ces décisions ne sont pas réellement appliquées, mais il y a aussi la dimension, je ne vais pas dire politique, mais de pratique politique et aussi géopolitique. Or, aujourd'hui, nous constatons que, de toute façon, les relations du Maroc avec le reste du monde, ne se limitent pas seulement avec l'Union européenne, même si c'est évidemment une des relations les plus importantes et les plus stratégiques. La pratique du Maroc aujourd'hui, c'est d'aller ailleurs, c'est-à-dire l'Afrique subsaharienne et le reste du monde, en dehors de l'Union européenne. Comment vous voyez de façon, je veux dire, pratique, ou plutôt aussi en tenant compte de l'horizon du temps, parce qu'avec le temps, il y a une expérience sur le continent africain où, il y a quelques années, j'ai envie de dire, la plupart des pays donc de l'Union africaine, de l'OUA au départ et de l'Union africaine après, soutenaient le Polisario ou acceptaient de facto, en effet, que le Polisario était donc le responsable du territoire du Sahara. Aujourd'hui, même des pays qui étaient considérés être des pays de ligne de front avant, sont en train, j'ai envie de dire, de diminuer ou d'affaiblir carrément leur soutien. Est-ce que vous ne pensez pas que malgré la décision de justice qui vient d'avoir lieu, que toute cette influence de tous ces pays ne va pas avoir un impact négatif au niveau de ce que vous cherchez, qui est tout à fait légitime et légal de votre part, dans l'application de cette loi? En fait, la question, c'est pour ceux qui veulent répondre. Do you understand, or is it better for me? Huh?
But I think it was quite long for a question anyway.
Okay. No, sorry, but it was the only way for me to explain, you know.
Yeah, no,
Otherwise, otherwise it's yes or not. No.
No, sorry. I'll respond in English to be to be understandable for everybody. I think that what we are up to today is the recent European General Court of Justice decision, and what are the implications and what are the perspectives from the European Parliament point of view, but also from the Polisario front and our lawyers. And I think that the main issue for us is to reiterate our appeal to the Council of the European Union to abstain from making any appeal, because it wouldn't really help the matter. So it would have a bad impact on the image of Europe, but also it will further complicate the situation that it is already alarming in Western Sahara, but also at the region as a whole. When we come to the African Union and the position of the certain African countries, for us, what matters is the position of the African Union as a whole. And you know that the Sahrawi Republic and the Kingdom of Morocco are sitting side by side as a fully fledged members inside the African Union. And we think that when Morocco opted to a membership in the African Union, knowing that the Sahrawi Republic is already a member, that is an implicit recognition of the existence of the Sahrawi Republic, exactly the same way they did when extending the application of the agreements with the European Union to Western Sahara. That was also implicitly a recognition of not having sovereignty over that territory. But for us within the African Union, what matters is the position of the organization, and that there is an attachment of the African Union countries to the Sahrawi Republic as a fully fledged member in the Union. And the last decision of the Peace and Security Council of the African Union in March was very eloquent in reflecting that reality in terms of the attachment of the two countries as a founding members, but also the golden rule of the Charter of the African Union in terms of the necessity to respect the inherited boundaries from the colonial era. The immediate response of the Moroccan government was to oppose this decision, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs said that Morocco is not concerned by this decision, and that is the stand of the African Union, and that's the voice of the African Union. Different individual countries may express a different will, but what matters is the collective position of the African Union. And for us, we are legally undertaking our struggle in a context that is very clear for everybody, and at the same time on ground we are undertaking the struggle exactly in the context that we know. And the basis that we have, a part of the legal grounding, is the will of our people to continue to struggle until we achieve our legitimate aspirations that are not anything beside the expression of the genuine of the will of the people of Western Sahara, whether they want to be independent or they want to be part of any other country, including Morocco.
Just a quick follow-up on the diversification of the relations that Morocco entertains with third countries, and so the possibility that Morocco would look for alternative partners after the EU. There is the propaganda and there is the reality. The reality is that in terms of geography, in terms of trade, Morocco is depending on the EU. And the Moroccan authorities, when they started to sign the first agreements with the EU, they linked their occupation of Western Sahara with the possibility to have an access to the open markets. As lawyers, and the work that we're trying to do, that's not to shut down all the economy in occupied Western Sahara. That would be very complicated. That's to shut down the economy at a level where it is not sustainable anymore. And so maybe Morocco will be able to diversify its partners. I'd be very curious to see how it will be possible to ship, to send shipments of tomatoes to the US or to other countries. The same goes for the fishery products. With all the certification and all that process, I can assure you that's very complicated. And so the question is, if we close the road to the EU, how long Morocco is able to sustain its occupation of Western Sahara without the EU supports?